Welcome to Beyond the Huddle, the Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. I'm your host, Zach Rose. Man, I can't believe Josh Adair's not here again. I'm telling you, just obliterate him in the comments. If you're in there, tell him that you miss him. We love him, but we miss him. We got our banquet coming up, so he's working hard about for that. But we do have a much more lovely personality and face in here today. We got a couple of them in here. We got Coach Johnny Rice, who's serves on our FCA staff as a FCA ambassador and serves in North Little Rock High School. And speaking of North Little Rock High School, we got a special guest, Mr. Wes Bilon. And did I say it right?
You did.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you
I
did.
just want to make sure. Um, and he is currently the athletic director at North Little Rock High School. So, super excited to dive into a conversation with these gentlemen today. Very storied and illustrious careers throughout their time at North Little Rock High School and continues there as well. So, super excited to just dive into your story, Wes, and learn a little bit more about you and your faith and kind of how you integrate that into what you do as athletic director, and just how you've continued to show up day in and day out serving in a public school system and what all that brings. So we're super excited to have you here today. Johnny, you got anything exciting for us as we start here?
No, I'm super excited to have a colleague from the school system here with us today, and someone that as my 10 years as the head boys basketball coach was someone that was sat next to me all 10 years. So I know a lot about him, and I'm excited to have him on here with us today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're excited. So, Wes, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, what you do, how long you've served at North Little Rock High School, and anything else you want to share right off the bat here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited when he asked me. I said, I guess you guys have gotten desperate. No, but I'm really excited to be here. It's something that's very important to me, and I try to live that every day. But so I actually grew up in Cabot. Spent my childhood there. Played sports and was always involved, in church and those type things. And left there, went to UCA and went to school. And when I graduated, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I'd gotten into I was gotten into umpiring baseball and did that professionally for a few years. Decided to come home and still wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and prayed about it and tried a career in the business world. About a year and a half of that, came home one day and told my wife, I said, this is I don't feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And so went back to school at the time I was about 25, and went back to school, got a master's degree so I could teach and coach, and started at North Little Rock in 2008 at Ridge Road Middle School. And I was coaching basketball, baseball, football, and just fell in love with it. And it's my ministry. It's actually my family's ministry as well. My kids have always been where I'm at, and they've had the opportunity to serve. And we talk about it. We've over the years that got one that's already graduated, and then I've got a younger one that's still in the high school. But it's just it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you put that, how that is a ministry. That's your ministry day to day of, I mean, we look at pastors and people who work in the church setting, and we consider them vocational uh, callings to ministry, but also there's so much importance in the day to day of you get to see students every single day who may never step foot in a church, but you have the opportunity to extend and be the church to them. That's so cool. I want to just kind of start from the beginning here with you on some of that of uh, where did your love for sports come from? How did that start in your life? How have you seen that as an outlet for you as you kind of grown up and have been in sports now for quite a few years?
Yeah, sure. So my my family was a sports family. My dad, he started putting us in sports and trying stuff out, and we'd try soccer if we didn't like it. We'd try something, and that was kind of my childhood. And found some success in certain things. I was never the best one, but was good enough to have fun with it. And I always wanted to. I've kind of got a personality where I want to try to be the best. And so that was kind of my childhood. Excuse me. And so My brother was the same way. So it was just kind of a competitive family. And we played, home run derby in the backyard when we weren't at practice, or football in the living room, drove my mother crazy. But that was just I just love sports, and it's been a part of my life really since I can remember.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know Coach Rice would probably say the same thing about uh, number one, having an outlet to just whatever it may be that day, blow off some steam, have some time to just have some fun, and also use it as a competitive outlet too. And to just kind of hit on it right off the bat here. I know you guys have both served together on the same coaching staff, so uh, Coach Rice. I don't know why I started calling Coach Rice. I feel like that feels appropriate here. Johnny, would you mind just sharing with us maybe a little bit of how, um, obviously, for some context, like you said, you guys served on the same coaching staff for, was it more than 10 years, or was it just the 10 years you had
I
coached?
mean, when I was as the head coach, I was the head coach for 10,
Yeah.
and so he was on my staff those 10. So so it was 10 that we spent. I would say every day, but
Yeah.
almost every day it seemed like. So
Yeah.
spent a lot of time together.
So how important was it for you two to communicate and talk day in and day out, to be on the same page with each other, especially with how much success you guys did have over those 10 years, to uh, make a solidified team effort day in and day out to say, you know what, like we have to be on the same page to communicate the same message to that team. What was that message? How did you guys communicate that together? I mean, obviously you're sitting here together still good friends, but how did that work day in and day out, just being able to communicate and build that friendship while also being successful in your sport too?
Well, like I said, I think successful in a program or in a sport, and I think the leadership is vital. And then whenever I took over the leadership spot as in the basketball program, I guess one of the big buzzwords at the time was culture. And I sat as the assistant coach for 14 years. I sat there, and it was like, and for 14 years, I would go, man, if I'm the head coach, I'm doing this. If I was a head coach, we're going to run this offense. We're going to do this play, this drill in practice. I'm going to do it like this, like this, like this. And then when I moved over, I used to say that I think the seat is like 14 inches. When you move over 14 inches and you become the head coach, everything I thought that was really, really important wasn't as important. The X's and O's, they are important, but they wasn't near as important as building a culture. And that starts with your coaching staff and the communication with your coaching staff, and getting along with them, and everybody being on the same page, having the same goals, and but also that we're acting a certain way, and showing that professionalism. And I know that Wes was a born again Christian. I could see it. I could see how he carried, how he led his family, and how he did everything. And that was a big part of I think of our success was the culture that we developed. It wasn't the X's and O's. I thought it was going to be the X's and O's, and it really is not. It's the culture that you build, and you can't do that. You can't build the right one without having coaches on your staff that are of the same mind and body and everything. And so I was blessed for 10 years to have this guy sitting next to me for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. As you lead together through that time, work together as a coaching staff, as not the head guy, as the assistant, how did that look from your perspective, Wes, of uh, leading under the head guy and having a bunch of success? But it almost seems to me just like, obviously the culmination of titles throughout your career. Now you're the athletic director, but how have you seen that play out in your life, and even throughout that stretch of uh, being faithful to show up and do your best work, even if you're not the head guy? How has that shifted your perspective? Maybe how was that over your tenure with the basketball team, of being an assistant, being under the head guy, but serving faithfully in that time? What would you encourage someone with if they were also in a similar circumstance of maybe they do want more? I don't know what you wanted
Yeah.
in that time, but just serving faithfully in an assistant kind of role.
Yeah. So, kind of like he was saying, when he was the assistant, he was watching the head coach. I mean, I think looking back, I did the same, and I picked up on nuggets of things over those years that I use daily. One thing he was always really good at was thanking, us for the work we did, whether it being there, opening the gym early for a kid that wanted to come shoot, or summer work, or, I always look forward to going to work. I always enjoyed, you kind of knew what you were going to get with him. It was an expectation, but he let you work, he let you do your job. And then, if you needed to talk, you would talk, but it was in the right way. And so those are all things that I picked, looking back, I picked up from him that I try to do in my job now. It's, I don't coach kids anymore. It's more, you work with a lot more adults. And so some of those same conversations though will occur. And so, sometimes very rarely do I see him mad. He might get frustrated, but he didn't usually just get mad. And so, I remember that. And so I try to, there, getting mad is not usually going to solve it. Now everybody can get mad, but take that deep breath, maybe step away for a minute. And, but one big thing is then I could do better, but encouraging those that I lead now, just give them that encouragement, thank them, maybe shoot them a quick text, or thank you for what you do, or, I love you. I'm really proud that you're on my team, or those kind of things. We got, that I remember those things, from back during those 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something when I think about kind of what we do with FCA, being able to interact and minister to coaches and athletes, there's so many athletes that I look at and understanding that sometimes they don't look like they're paying attention to what's going on, but really they're paying attention to what's going on. And uh, I think for athletes, that's what we see sometimes of the things that they've seen and observed are the things that they will replicate in their sport, in their life, and how they do their things. Humans in our nature, I feel like it's just in our nature to replicate what we see played out in front of us, whether it's changing what we do because we've seen a bad example of it, or following the example that we think is the best example or all that we've known so far. I think that's so important. And it sounds like that's something that you had learned in that time too, of for both of you, of Johnny for taking time to observe, and I'm sure like just to take a moment and say 14 years is a long time to sit and to learn and to wait for that opportunity. Like I can't really comprehend that because I've barely even been alive for 14 years, but thinking through just the time it takes and the waiting of the Lord's preparing you for that season when it comes. And not to over spiritualize or this or that, but I do believe there's purpose and value in the waiting season too.
You're exactly right. And like I said, I was assistant for 14 years. No, you ain't asked a question, but he's kind of let me in.
No, absolutely.
Saying something. Assistant for 14 years, and they come to me and says, my very first year, I didn't get the job full. They come in and says, we'll give you the job on an interim basis. First thing I've been in the district for 22 years, or like almost 20 years, and I've been the assistant for 14, and that's not enough, for me to get the job. I thought, so I was a little upset. And then I go, says, I knew we had good players. I didn't know we had as good as we had. I knew we had good players. If somebody's going to look good, I might as well try to be to do it. So we get it and we win it in that very first year. But then we win 3 in a row, the first 3. I had someone tell me, like they used to bring us as many, this is, God's blessing you in this season. I never thought about that. And I was so locked in, so busy on what we were doing during the season and everything that it made me stop and reflect and look back at everything. And when I did that, I saw how the Lord had maneuvered an AD that was in position at one time, that he made the statement to me, there's no one will ever be the head basketball coach in North Little Rock that don't have head coaching experience. Well, the Lord moved that guy out. He wasn't in that positioning. And then, we were under the desegregation lawsuit, which would, the previous 2 head coaches were African American men. And so I'm thinking, well, it's going to be an African American male. I thought, so, well, during that first year that we had as the interim, we were lifted from the deseg lawsuit. Well, then I have a group of guys and our coaching staff that all came together and we did something historical that hadn't been done in 40 something years, winning a boys state championship in basketball. So I could just, once I got still and looked back, I could see what you just talked about, how the Lord works and maneuvers people out, lawsuits away, and it assembles a group of people together to accomplish a great thing that That was all God doing that.
Yeah.
And I won't. There's no way anybody can convince me anything different.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That gets me even more excited because it's March and March Madness is coming up, and uh, I wasn't thinking we were going to talk about this, but here we are. Just how exciting that tournament is, and seeing that the teams who have the most success always seem to be the ones that are most well connected at the end of the year. Now, there's some good players that can control games and move and operate, but man, you've seen some teams that take down the biggest of stars in the tournament because they're so well connected. And one of my favorite college basketball coaches, I won't say who it is again because I'll get destroyed in the state of Arkansas for liking him, but let's just say they're about to make a run in the SEC tournament, and they rhyme with the Missouri Wigers. But he always says the best teams are the most connected teams, and I mean I can see that in the way you guys talk and interact with each other. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. Of like the proof is in the pudding. What you guys were able to do in that stretch of time, but it's encouraging to hear that of there were a lot of big names that rolled through when you guys were coaching, and I mean that's a product of good coaching, good culture, and the work ethic that those players had put in to now again be in some of the spots that they are
You,
today. But
you say that, and I remember my very first 2 or 3 teams. We had great players, and it was more than one or two. It was multiple, and people, other coaches, other programs, people in the community, whatever, they would say, "There's no way y'all get them guys. You don't have enough basketballs to make everybody happy." And that was one of the parts when I was saying it wasn't the X's and O's as much as it was keeping them engaged, keeping them on a similar purpose. This is what our goals are, and getting them to all the sacrifice and play together for an ultimate goal. And we were able to do that. And a lot of people said we couldn't. And we'd had great talent in the past, and never could get over the hump. Those guys sacrificed, and then we won 6 in about 10 years. And every one of them we had great players. There's no doubt you can't win without that. But they played together, and they played with a purpose, and they played and they sacrificed individual stuff
yeah,
for the key team's gain, and that was really, really special to be a part of.
yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
How was that, Wes, from your perspective of enjoying that, but also seeing the culmination of that come together? Of it's no doubt that you guys probably have in your minds, okay, I think we've got something special here. Not just with one team, but with that stretch of time. Uh, when you look on that, I mean, you said something before we started the show of just how you enjoyed that time
Mhm.
and loved that experience. But how was that from your perspective? Did that re-energize, rejuvenate you to desire to show up to work more and more every day? Like obviously not every day you're winning state championship, but working towards something with a purpose. How did that look from your perspective?
Yeah, it was just, I was a piece of the team. I had a job to do. And that was, I knew what my purpose on the team was, so to speak, whether it be getting the laundry done every day, or I mean, even the things that you didn't want to have to do that nobody saw, like those things still had to be done. And so when you're connected like that, even the stuff that it's not fun and it's behind the scenes, it's still you still are energized to do those kind of things. And then as those kids graduate and go on, and then we're still doing it and they come back, that was really special. When you would look up in the stands, on our third, fourth, or the back end of the fourth, fifth, and sixth ones, some of those first groups were even out of college that they're coming back and they're there, they're high fiving, they're behind the bench, and it was just, I mean, the family of it, the family feel, and it's still today. We just recognized those 3 teams that are the second to last game this year. A bunch of the guys came back. They are working careers. They have families, and they're hugging and there's tears, and you're like, that's what it's about. Those rings and all that, they sit in a box and you wear them every once in a while. And they're great stories and great memories for some of us. But like when you see them go off and do that, and then you just can't help but think like you were a small piece of their journey. And so that's really special. But when you're an assistant, now I was joking with our assistant AD the other day. Our desks are about 15 feet apart, but I said they might as well be 15 miles apart, because when you move from that one seat, like he was saying, when you take that step and you become, when the buck stops there, when you're the final and everything ends there, you got to have good people underneath you. You just have to. You can't do it by yourself. You can't lead by yourself. And I've got a great team underneath me right now. The people that work with us, it's not I'm the boss and all that. It's we work together. We all have jobs to do. We're laser focused on what it is and what we're specialized in. Who's really good with this, who's really good with that, and you allow them to lead. So I never necessarily looked at it like I was just an assistant. I had things that I could lead in, whether it be being prepared with the scout team, or having the ninth grade team ready to go, or having the next group knowing exactly what they need to do when they step foot that first day of summer workouts, or everything was planned out, had a purpose. And so yeah, it never really felt like he's a head coach, you're an assistant, the other assistant is, we're all in this together. We got a goal. Let's love on these kids. Let's work them hard, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I get excited and giddy when gets to talk about team building and
yeah,
just how all of that operates. I know you two in the positions that you have been in, are in, that's something that excites you. Kind of has to, if you're going to be in a role where you're a coach or someone who's trying to build towards something, just being able to fit all the pieces together. Obviously, seeing that play out is super exciting and seeing the success of that. But want to also talk about the other side of that, of the difficult moments too. I wanted to ask you, Wes, before we get into that, about just this transition to becoming the athletic director. I mean, you kind of just hit on it. Of you're the end of the road when it comes to some of those decisions. How has that transition been for you? Um, with still including that you do want to be faithful to the Lord and what He's blessed you with. How has that transition been for you to step into a larger role and to be able to have more responsibility? What does that look like for you, and just how you feel like the Lord has brought you to this in this
yeah.
season?
I think the hardest part in the beginning, and I feel like through a lot of prayer and my wife is my sounding board, bless her heart. In the beginning of this, it was really hard because, it got to where people were like, well, you've changed and you're not the same person you used to be, or, um, because you have to make hard decisions. The answer is not always yes, and there's a bigger purpose. And so, I got caught up when I was a coach in being kind of tunnel vision on our program and all the things that we needed or we didn't have, or maybe we didn't feel like we had the support, or I never really thought about there's a bigger picture. Um, and so when I had to learn that, it became, very difficult because I did have to set some boundaries, and for not just at work, but like for myself, and my family, I had to. And so, I can't always answer the phone when you call right away, or, something simple like that. And so in turn, a lot in the beginning, it was kind of, you changed, or, and in some ways I did because I kind of had to, but that was very difficult. A lot of really close friends that, just it was bumpy at first. Seems a lot better now, and so I'm thankful for that. A lot of prayer. Like I said, my wife's had to sit through a lot of listening to me, and she always gives me really good advice, and so a lot of encouragement. I mean, there's days where I'm like, yeah, I don't think I can do this much longer, and so we'll stop, talk about it, and I'll spend some time reflecting, and then usually you think you have to refocus back to why you're doing what you're doing. And so, I don't know if I answered the question, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of,
absolutely.
like I said, I'm wrapping up year 3, and I personally feel that we've made a lot of success in a lot of areas. There are some pockets we're still working on, to try to improve on, but overall, the health of the athletic department, I feel is in a really good place, and it just continues to get better. Like I said, there's areas that we can work on, and we're going to continue, but for the most part, we're getting where I believe that our community, our kids, and they deserve. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. You feel like there's been, I always ask this question when we have guests on, asking them, has there ever been a time when really if you've walked on the earth for more than just a few years, you've experienced something difficult that the Lord has used to uh, reveal His glory through a situation. Is there a moment or something that you look back on and see that was hard in the moment, but realize that the Lord was really working through that situation to bring you to either deeper relationship with Him or to a place where you just had a deeper understanding of what He was trying to do in the first place? Is there anything that comes to mind in that area of something difficult that you faced that the Lord kind of brought you through?
Yeah. Well, just recently, I've lost both of my parents to battles with cancer. I didn't have this position when my dad passed in 2020. I did when my mother had it. She just passed in 2024. Obviously, it was very hard. At my age, most of my friends and people I know still have at least one parent. So to be an adult orphan, if you will, is not, it's still something that I struggle with. But my parents were very encouraging and to chase your goals and stay focused. And so I think, I mean, that was probably the most difficult thing I've done, probably in one of the most in my life, is going through that with both of them recently. But what I've learned through it is that I get to lead a lot of people, and they are going to, there's a chance some of them will go through that as well. I just had a coach recently that lost his mother, and I had a chance to visit with him. And I can truly say I understand. Like I know where you're going through. It's very similar to mine. I don't know your exact story, but if you need to take some time, take some time. If you need to go be with her in the don't worry about this place. We'll cover it because I didn't really. I don't know that I would have really understood had I not went through that season. And so I'm sure as I continue down this road, there's going to be more opportunities for me to be able to minister and console and work through that with other coaches. Hopefully not kids, but if so, I feel like I can relate, and my experience through that can hopefully help somebody down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I really, really believe that as we pursue ministry in FCA, that we have to be vulnerable as leaders, as students who are being ministered to. There has to be a vulnerability that comes out when we're able to truly connect with people. That is one of the hardest things. I get so frustrated sometimes because it's hard to break through the shell of a lot of times what our students, sometimes what our coaches are dealing with and going through. Of you'd be so much better for it if you just had a healthy and safe outlet to be able to share those things with, and even just to be able to grow through those things too. And so I wanted to ask you to kind of get onto the FCA realm of things and
Yeah.
your experience with that. Um, Number one, why do you support a ministry like FCA that's going on at North Little Rock High School? Why have you been a part of that ministry? Why do you let someone like Coach Rice come in and be a part of and facilitate some of that and advocate for that? Why is that so important to you
Sure.
that happens on North Little Rock High School's campus?
Yeah, sure. So, we didn't have FCA at North Ark High School for a long time, and it kind of became heavy on my heart my last year coaching. I kind of brought it up a few times, and I remembered some of the experiences I had as a kid when I was growing up, and I don't even remember if it was called FCA, but there was opportunities before school to meet as a group, and it just kind of was in the back of my mind for years. And so one day, I think the Lord was just like, let's see what happens at North Little Rock. And so I made a couple phone calls, Robert Upshaw. I'm trying to think who, a couple other guys, Coach Rice, and said, "Hey, I think I'm going to try to see what happens." So they talked to the principal, and she said, "Do it before school. You can use the auditorium." So we made, so it'll be our first one, at least the first one in a long time. And it was, ironically, it was our first year out of coaching. At the time, I was an assistant principal, and I picked the date. We were going to do it before school in the auditorium. Had a few guys who were going to come speak. Lance Kaufman. There were several guys that were going to come, and they said, "We'll take care of it. We're going to bring food. Let's just see what happens." I said, "Great." Well, the date I picked was the morning after the basketball playoff game that was in Rogers. And so we'd put it out, so didn't pay attention enough. So anyway, we go that morning. I'm thinking nobody's going to show up. Like this is going to be, and it was our first one. I was real excited. And I'm there. I get there early, and kids start walking in, and they keep coming, and they keep coming. Basketball kids are showing up that didn't get in until 1 a.m. Cheerleaders are walking in that had been in Rogers that night before. And I'm getting chills right now, but like, I was like, that's the Lord bringing these people here. And so that was our first one. Robert brought an amazing message. Actually got a few text messages that afternoon from some of the parents that said, I don't know what happened this morning, but like my kid called me and wanted to tell me about it. And I was like, wow. So we started doing that, and we did that for a couple years. And so then I was like, again, I can't do this by myself, so I recruited a couple other coaches to jump in. And then Debbie Brown, she does our cross country. She's been outstanding. I kind of worked with it through her for a couple years in the morning. Then we were able to get it during the day, during what they have a club time on Fridays. Coach Rice and I've kind of let them take it, and because I kind of have taken that step back, and they run it. But gosh, there's probably 100 kids maybe that show up. And every time I get a chance to go down there, I mean, my heart swells not because I was the one that thought about bringing it back, just that was the Lord's work. And that's something that I believe every high school needs and sometimes not just athletes either. It's open to anybody that wants to come. And so they'll bring a friend it's really important for those kids to have that opportunity. It's student led. They don't have to go. They're not forced but we started with a group that just showed up one morning to now it's healthy, strong. They do things, Coach Rice being on campus now, that's just a whole nother level of support. So I'm just excited to see how it'll keep growing down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give you just a second to speak on some of that too, and share, because North Little Rock is your school. That's where you're directly positioned, and I mean, there's no accident about that the Lord's opened that door. But I know you've shared before, Coach Rice, about just a little bit of why you got involved with FCA, and I love it when you share that and hearing your heart for it, because it's just so revealing, I think, of your heart for the student athlete in general. And I'll let you share some of that. But how have you seen ministry grow on campus since you've started with FCA? What's your heartbeat? Why do you want to continue to see it grow at North Little Rock High School and middle school? And what keeps you going and showing up and excited about this every day?
I mean, I've been on staff with at FCA now a little over a year, and you first part your support raising, you're doing all that. They don't even want you out ministering, and I didn't enjoy that very much. And all of this, just trying to raise support for it, and but this school year I've been able to minister and be there, and like I said, Debbie Brown, I think she was a Central Arkansas coach of the FCA coach of the year before last. And I see why, because she has a huddle every Wednesday morning at the middle school. And that is probably the most inspiring time for me, because, I thought, there's times that I've spoke, and I've only done it like one time. And that's because students have stepped up every time. Like, she texts me on like Monday going, "Hey, I don't really have anybody. Can you talk this Wednesday?" And I go, "Yeah, whenever you need me, I got it." And then she texts me Tuesday and goes, "Well, I had 3 girls come up, and do you mind?" And I go, "Do I mind? No, that's exactly reason why we're here."
Yeah.
And those kids it's unbelievable how just the boldness and the courage that they show every day. And that's at the middle school. Then the one we have, once a month at the campus, there was 100 kids in there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the same way. They were stepping up, someone stepping up, speaking and leading and doing it. I mean, it's unreal. And then we're trying to grow our individual team huddles, and Coach Bowling it's a really big priority to him and his football program now that he's back. And we met every Thursday during the season. Now the season is over, and we're meeting on Thursday mornings. But then once a week on Wednesday afternoons after school, he has a coach's Bible study. And I've been able to go to that to sit and pray and talk and do all that and it's just so cool. And we've had girls basketball, and we've met with Coach Dillon just this week, and we're going to start one for baseball coming up, and so I love seeing that grow into the individual team huddles. They're team building chance opportunities for that team, and but it's a little more intimate in a smaller intimate setting. Things can, just I think more things happen, and it's more things are more emotional, stuff like that. And one thing I've learned from coaching, but in my faith, Christian faith, and then I when I retired and got out of coaching and teaching, I got in the business world for about a year to two. I was doing insurance, and I would go through all this training. So when I did teacher training, all I ever talked about is relationships. You got to form a relationship with a kid if you want to engage. And that was one of my biggest parts of coaching was I want those kids to know that I love them. If they really knew that I loved them, and besides just basketball, those kids would do anything in the world I asked them to do. They would go the extra mile and do that because they knew that I really cared about them and did that. And so that relationship was vital in my coaching part. But it was vital in the classroom. The kids really got to know what you care about them, but they're not going to do. They don't give a flip what you're teaching. They're not going to pay attention at all because they know you don't care about them. But then in the business world, that's what they kept saying. I was selling life insurance, and everything it was. We got to build a rapport and a relationship with the possible client, and then so everything is relationship based. But then I teach a Sunday school class at my church at Northview Missionary Baptist in North Little Rock, and just being more mature in my spiritual faith is the ultimate relationship that starts everything is my personal relationship with Jesus and how that is. If that's in a good spot, usually my work spot's going to be good. My relationship spot with my wife's going to be good. My spot with my kids are going to be good. But if my relationship with Christ is not where it should be, all those other relationships, it just falls right down. It all goes with that. So everything's relationship based. I think it's the same way with FCA and kids going in, and they know that we care about them, and they know that, and it gives them the opportunity to. Man, I'm like I said, I'm overwhelmed by their boldness and their courage to stand up. I would have never done that today. I remember when I told my mom that I was going to be a teacher and coach. She goes, "Johnny, you don't even like to stand up and talk to nobody. How are you going to get in front of somebody and talk?" And I go, "I don't know." But so obviously it was the Lord's work on that too. Everything is relationship based, and I've loved seeing the FCA ministry grow in North Little Rock. Number one, because I have a love for the kid of North Little Rock because I was one of them, and it's been really, really encouraging, and it's like nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah. In the last year, I know we've seen a ton of growth, not just in size numerically, but in the hearts of the students that desire. I know that Robert Upshaw has been coming with the football team
Yes.
this last season, and just hearing some stories, even at Fields of Faith when they came, showed up. The whole bus of them came and showed up in uniform, ready to go. I wouldn't expect anything less of Coach Boulding to have them there like that, but showed up at Sylvan Hills High School. And there's a picture that I love, and it'll be on our website. If you go check out our website, I just updated it some, but there's a picture on there that I love. And two North Little Rock high school football students with a Catholic high student. And the two North Little Rock kids are on the outside with the one, he's like a teeny tiny Catholic high student in the middle. And they got their arms around each other. And that's when I look at that, I think, that's FCA. Like,
So that's all about.
But even bigger than FCA, that's the Lord's heart for what we want these student athletes to be able to do. It's so cool, like you said, to be able to pursue that on a team level, especially to be able to. I know for me, for anyone in a team setting ever, that's a more intimate experience than just being one of 100. And that's not to disrespect the time we have elsewhere, because I think that's super important. And I've seen that one of the times I went to North Little Rock High School, this kid gave an incredible illustration of, I can't even remember, he was painting something and was talking about how sin affects our life. It was an incredible illustration. I'm like, how did that kid just present like that in front of all these students? But it's giving, outside of just how we grow with the Lord, it's giving our students opportunities to lead. It's giving them opportunities to build relationship, like you say, and become more well-rounded individuals in whatever field that they pursue. So um, that's so cool just to hear all of that. I'm so excited for um, just what is happening, what's to come. I know there's a lot of really great student leaders at North Little Rock High School. I know there's a lot more that are learning and growing right now to become better student leaders. I think that's the exciting thing about when you build good structure, like you said, Wes, is that you have to trust and you have to build your team to be able to effectively pursue a goal that's much larger than just what you can do on your own. I think that's so exciting just to hear how bigger than just one person. There's a team that's operating and working together for the same purpose and same goal. That's what the church is, man. Of just being able to work together in faith and unity to be able to pursue what God has for us. So, um, man, that's super exciting. Thank you for sharing all of that. We've got a little under 10 minutes left, and want to have a little fun here to end. I got thinking about March Madness, and this time of year, I'm no good for anything except for watching basketball, I feel like. And I wanted to just ask, is there a specific game? And I'll give you a minute to think. I'm happy to share before you guys go, but is there a specific game in the March Madness tournament that you look at or have seen at any course or point in time of your life that is like your favorite top March Madness game of all time? I'll let you think about that for a second. I haven't seen as much March Madness just because I haven't been alive for as long, but uh, the past years of seeing some of the like 16 seeds, I love basketball, but watching a 16 seed beat a 1 seed kind of hurts my heart a little bit because that 1 seed, they're going home hurting. And no one's talking on that bus ride home or on that flight home. That coach is not letting anyone talk. But those have been really cool moments. I remember there's one game specifically. It was just really random game, but it was a really good one. I think it was University of Central Florida and Duke a few years back when Taco Fall and like Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett and them were at Duke. And I remember thinking there was this kid on UCF that was just like balling out. Like this one game, it's like this kid's been waiting for this game his whole life to go up against the like top three of the like top 10 recruits in the nation. And they came up a little bit short. But I remember watching that game and I thought that Duke squad was like unbeatable. And they end up came down to a close game and Duke ends up losing later in the tournament. But it's one of those things where you kind of look at it and you're like, man, some of these teams are definitely beatable. The other one that comes to mind is I think his name's RJ Hunter, but I want to say it was Georgia State. His dad was the coach of the team, and his dad he had like torn his ACL because he was celebrating the game before about how his team had advanced, and he was sitting in a little chair scooting around, and his son comes in the next game, hits the game winner, and he falls out of his chair and is on the ground. I'm like, I'm sure he broke something else when he fell, but it's just those moments that you can't script or make up. Is there any game that comes to mind in your guys' mind that you've seen or that's personal to you that has just ignited the fire for why this is such a cool tournament?
I can show my age compared to y'all, but I can memorize probably being in junior high. I remember going to Roche Community Center playing basketball during the day earlier and coming home, and Arkansas was playing Louisville and on TV. And at this time, it was way before cable, and there was like every game was on. And it was the game that U.S. Reed hit the half court shot. You might have no clue about that.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But look it up on YouTube. I'm sure.
He hits a half court shot. It's still talked about all the time. I mean, at the buzzer to win the game. And so I remember that one. I remember the 94 national championship game. You think about Arkansas. And I had teammates that I played with in high school that after playing the NCAA tournament. I remember watching them, and that was really cool. And maybe the coolest for me, and it might be for Wes too, is seeing some of your former players play in that. I know we had probably one of the first ones. I don't know if it was Moses, Moody. They had a big run and went to the Sweet 16. Maybe I think
They were Elite Eight, weren't they?
They might have been Elite Eight.
They
went
were.
to. I remember watching that, and because we had a part of Moses' journey. DJ Smith just last year played for Robert Morris. Alan Moore played. It was last year, or maybe the year before for.
He was a Grand
Canyon. Nick Smith, especially with at Arkansas a little bit. Kalel Ware at Indiana. I got to watch him play. Getting to watch Corey Washington was at Wichita State last year. Played last year.
Deshaun was at Florida State.
Deshaun was at Florida State. Anton was at and so it was cool to see those guys play. So those are probably the most memorable to me. Besides those ones you don't even know anything about because you weren't even born.
I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go do some research. Yeah, definitely.
I was gonna say, just watching the guys, like everything he just said was what I would have said. Is when you turn that on and you see, and you even know their expressions.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, here it comes. Colin's gonna start doing his thing. I mean, that's my favorite thing. I mean, if I had to pick one game, it would be the '94 championship game. But I mean, there's so many chances we've had to watch our guys, and now we got to watch them play in the NBA.
Yeah,
and it's really fun because one of them has a good game. I'll shoot them a quick text. Great job, proud of you. Something like that, and they'll respond. And they're coming back now. A lot of the guys that have made it to the NBA, and even some of those college guys are wanting to come back and have camps on our campus, give back to the kids, and I mean, it's refreshing to see. It's encouraging. And so watching them, just getting the chance to watch them play and do their thing is my favorite time.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships, like we just said.
Absolutely.
I get asked about, do you ever wear your rings? I got one on today, but I don't wear it very often. I have a box sitting by my bed that I have them sitting in, and they collect dust. But those relationships is what really matter. Or like we recognize the 13, 14, 15 repeat guys last week. The seeing them come up there, some of them are a little heavier than they were before. And then one's got his baby with them and their wives. And I mean, that's what it's all about. It's all about relationships, and the relationships will last forever. And these rings, I don't. But sometimes it might be they're too heavy to wear all the time.
Oh yeah.
I'll still wear them every now and then though, just to reminisce.
Sure.
Yeah.
Might as well. Hey, you earned them. So, yeah, that's cool. We're wrapping up here. Thank you so much for coming on and just sharing a little bit. I love basketball. I love every sport, but basketball's got a special place in my heart. So getting to talk about that a little bit, super exciting for me too. And thank you for just being a part of FCA on your campus. Bigger than just being a part of FCA, thank you for being someone who stands firm to not just fight for your faith, but be an example for faith on campus. We need more leaders in our schools like you. And we do have some incredibly solid leaders in our schools around North Pulaski County and just this greater Central Arkansas area. We're super thankful for those who say yes to the calling that God's placed on your life, because as a coach, it's a calling. As an athletic director, it's a calling to say, yes, we want to lead every coach and every athlete closer to Jesus. That's the purpose of what we're doing. And along the way, we want to win some games too.
That's right.
So thank you for being on. Thanks for taking some time to be with us today. And thanks for watching this episode of Beyond the Huddle, the Central Arkansas FCA podcast where faith meets competition. We'll